Minutes ago, we heard from Speaker McCarthy. He says he doesn't believe the country will default, but there's still no deal. So what's really going on here?
All three major indices in the red following Speaker McCarthy's remarks that no agreement has been reached with Democrats and President Biden on lifting the debt ceiling, the nation's $31 trillion debt ceiling. Speaker McCarthy going so far as to criticize progressives, including Senator Bernie Sanders, for calling on the president to not negotiate with Republicans in terms of cutting government spending. Speaker McCarthy doubling down, saying that any type of an agreement or compromise must include cuts to government spending in order to reach the agreement. Now, he also went so far as to commit to the members of his caucus that he would provide 72 hours, 3 days of time for them to review any type of legislative text agreement compromise before voting on a piece of legislation. That means if you subscribe to the thought that Treasury Secretary Yellen's June 1st X date, when the nation would hit the debt ceiling, that would mean that they are going to have to get to some type of a compromise on Sunday or even Monday of the holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend, when markets are closed on that Monday. So all of this just heightens the environment as Republicans and Democrats still remain worlds apart in terms of reaching an agreement. Separately from that, President Biden, for his part, also deploying some top strategists, some top architects of a compromise who have been meeting regularly throughout this week. But some of the sticking points that have emerged are two central issues. The first, clawing back any type of unspent COVID-19 funding that has been committed to be spent throughout the country. About $30 billion, according to the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, of funds that would be spent over the next decade. Secondly, work requirements. Speaker McCarthy, you heard him in his remarks doubling down that he wants to see work requirements, a return to work requirements as part of any type of compromise. Democrats, progressives in particular, say no. The backstory to all of this from the left flank has been, in the last week, you've heard from the likes of Senator Elizabeth Warren, of Senator Bernie Sanders, calling on the administration to invoke the 14th Amendment should there be a technical default. The 14th Amendment, they argue, would allow for President Biden to continue to make good on the debt payments and the debt obligations of the United States if there is a so-called technical default. It's not the preference of the administration from the sources that I talked to, but as this thing gets down to the wire, it only intensifies those calls from the left.
Kevin Cirilli, thank you so much for bringing us up to date in Washington.